So people put expectations according to their values that are sometimes unrealistic. And I think that sometimes the challenges we get make us tough, make us stronger, push us. I wouldn't want to be in a relationship that a woman couldn't stand up to me and come back at it. I think she's got to be herself. Otherwise, she's going to minimize herself, sacrifice herself, and she'll be a doormat. I want her to stand up and stand for her beliefs too, but at the same time, learn how to communicate them in my values and let me do the same.
Wonderful. How about money? That's another thing that you address a lot of. Everybody wants more money.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody get up in the morning and says, I call all their friends and said, look, I've got some extra cash. I'd really like to give it away.
Right.
Most people would say they'd like to have more. Well, again, it goes back to the values. If you look at your values and determine what your hierarchy of your values are, what's highest and lowest, you'll find out that if you don't have a high value on money, it goes right through you into somebody else's hands. And if you do have a high value on money, enough to save it and invest it, make it build, then it stays with you. I mean, I know a guy that made $6.29 million in 1 year in his business. And at the end of the year, he had to borrow $327,000 to pay his taxes and pay his bills. Now you'd think, how can a guy make $6.29 million and have to pay $327,000 back tax? I mean, you know, he'd have to borrow it. But the truth is his values of saving money was not on the list. This is way down number 30 on his list. Making money, living a great lifestyle, traveling the world, having great art, having a great home, having social parties and everything else. But saving his money for his taxes and saving money for himself was not on the list. So what happens is he had to borrow money at the end of the year, even though he's making $6.29 million. At the same time, he had an assistant working for him. They made $2,000 a month. She saved $400 a month. So she was closer to financial independence than he was. And it has nothing to do with how much money you make. It has everything to do with how you manage what you make. And how you manage what you make is directly according to the values that you hold.
You have a book about money, don't you?
Yes, How to Make One Hell of a Profit and Still Get to Heaven. Because so many people have this internal moral dilemma and conflict between their spiritual quest and their material quest. And there's no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason why you can't be vastly fortunate financially and also spiritually savvy and making major contributions in the spiritual dimension. But people have this box and they have a belief. And I help people through that. When the book was designed to help people break through that. Gives them strategies on how to make more money, save more money, and build wealth, and do it for a spiritual cause. It's a great contribution to the planet. And do it that inspires them, living their life. Even Donald Trump, when they interviewed him recently, he said, doing what you love and loving what you do is the secret of achievement and wealth. And I agree, totally.
You do workshops and lectures, I think you said about 300 days a year. Just today, this is one of 3 or 4 interviews that you're doing. Just today, you're doing a workshop tonight. I took your workshop. You're as fresh at 9 in the morning as you are at 1 in the morning. How do you maintain this level of energy?
Well, I always say that vitality is directly proportionate to the vividness of your vision. And I'm clear about my vision.
What's your vision?
Well, my vision is to, I was in Oahu in 1972 and I met Paul Bragg. And Paul Bragg was lecturing in a little sunset recreation hall on the north shore of Oahu, Waimea Bay Area. And I sat there with 35 people on a little floor, wooden floor, and he lectured on the laws of the universe. And he lectured about the body, mind, and spirit, and how the body must be guided by the mind, and the mind must be guided by the soul to maximize human potential. When I listened to him that night, I was so inspired. I've never seen anything, I never heard anything like that. And then he said, tonight you're going to decide what you're going to do with the rest of your life. Tonight you're going to determine your destiny. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to think about what you want to dedicate your life to. And that night I just sat there and I contemplated. I scanned my whole life and I looked at it, and all of a sudden it made sense. I saw a hidden order in it. Because I really believe in people's lives there's a magnificent hidden order that we don't see. I try to help people see that so they can be grateful for everything that's happened in their life. So it can be fuel instead of friction. And I saw it, and I got a glimpse of what I wanted to do. And it was very inspired by him. And because I was told I would never read, write, or communicate, never amount to anything, because I lived on the streets as a teenager, and because I was told by a bum in El Paso, Texas, to learn how to read and gain the wisdom of love and the love of wisdom, and then meeting Paul Bragg, I just thought, wow, I want to dedicate my life to the study of universal laws as it relates to body, mind, and spirit, particularly as it relates to healing. And I want to travel the world and step foot in every country on the face of the earth and share my findings with people. And that night I had an epiphany. I saw that. I was brought to tears. 34 years and about 3 months ago, that happened. And that's all I've wanted to do ever since.
It's an incredible story. Along the way, you're a chiropractor.
Yeah, I align spines and minds of the divine to make people feel fine, I tell people. But I don't practice full-time anymore. I don't practice because I'm traveling all the time. But I once had a very big practice in Texas, and I loved it. I love working with my hands, heart, and mind with people. And it's amazing. I was blessed with truly seeing a boy who's in a coma come out of a coma after 3.5 years in my hands. I saw somebody who was blind see with the right and left eye all of a sudden with coordination. I saw people that were paralyzed come and start to move and walk and move their body and live and function again. There's some really amazing stuff in the practice. I just spoke to about 5,000 chiropractors the other day in Las Vegas. I still reach a lot of chiropractors. And it's an amazing art. Truly amazing art. People who don't know what it's about can't maybe get a feel for what the philosophy is and the science behind it, but it's truly an amazing piece of work. And I'm grateful to it, even though I don't practice right now because I'm teaching around the world. But I still adjust people wherever I travel because, if your spine is not functioning, that's the master control of the body, the nervous system. It's essential to have that functioning.
You told an amazing story in your workshop about your beloved wife dying, and then within a very short period of time, just a few weeks, you met a new partner.
Yes.
I wonder about that. Was there a grieving period? How did that happen?
Well, a lot of people ask me, and Woman's Weekly did a big interview on that, the 5-page article on that, how to do it. Mary Claire's did one on it. How do you do that? Well, I've been working on the study of philosophy and metaphysics and life and death and things like this for many years. And I think I've made some really amazing discoveries, at least for myself. And that is that people only have remorse, bereavement, grief, and loss and sorrow over those components about the person that may have died or left them that they're infatuated with. In other words, in observation, I've worked with about 560, in the last decade, 560 cases of death that I've actually taken through the process and dissolved the remorse. And it usually takes a few hours, believe it or not, with this new method.
Just a quick interjection. Do you feel that there is a place for tears, for that? Do you feel like there is a natural place for grieving?
No.
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 You don't believe that?
That's a symptom of a misperception. Because there's no loss, there's transformation. So that's what most people do because that's what they've been taught and that's what they know. But there's truly a new way of dealing with that I offer to people, and I've worked it, like I said, with 560 cases. Because what happens when somebody dies, if they come to you, they never say, oh, I missed their screaming at me. I missed their dirty hair in the sink. I missed their dirty clothes. I missed their farts. I missed their screaming at me. I missed their inconsiderateness. I missed the way they're late. No one ever says that when somebody dies. It's only the things that they were infatuated with. And as long as you're infatuated with it, when it leaves you, you have withdrawal symptoms from that which you're addicted to. Because when you're infatuated with somebody, it brings dopamine and endorphins and kephalons in the brain and activates them, and we become addicted to it. Then what happens when it's gone, we have withdrawal symptoms, which are remorse, bereavement, grief, loss, sorrow, broken heart. So it's not because we love them, it's because we were addicted to parts of them. And that part that we were addicted to is what we have remorse about, not the things that we were subjected from. The things that we were subjected from or resented, you might say, we never have remorse. We actually have a hidden joy and a celebration of that being gone in our life, but we don't publicly talk about that usually. So what happens is, I identify all the traits that are infatuated. I ask them then, at the moment that they're passed, who has emerged those traits? So what happens when somebody departs, every one of the traits that they represent show up in different people around them. And so what we do is we quantitatively identify the new traits, and then once we identify the quantity of all the traits, who's emerging to demonstrate that. So when my wife disappears, 2 of the friends all of a sudden start calling and say, let's go for a walk, where I used to walk with my wife. Yeah. Another person now all of a sudden wants to talk longer, which we never did. Now they want to talk more. The other one wants to give me longer hugs or something. Yeah. And the other one all of a sudden calls and just says, checking up on you. All the things that my wife did emerged immediately with other people. Yes. It dispersed. So the radio station that represented their consciousness got picked up by other receivers, you might say. Yeah. And then what happened is, the things that I was infatuated with, those are the ones that I had to come in and calm down. I had to look for the drawbacks to it. Once I took the infatuation down, once I saw quantitatively the new form, and I balanced it qualitatively, there's no remorse. And because I was able to do that, because I developed the method for that, I just did the process. And we dishonor the person by having remorse, in my opinion. Because when you die, do you want people to sit in remorse and bereavement and grief for days, weeks, or months, or years? Or do you want them to get on with their life and live their life to the fullest?
That's a good question. I wouldn't mind if somebody had a little bit of sadness.
Well, I have no
gone.
interest in that. I want if
You're
my
asking
wife,
me, I wouldn't
Well, if
mind
my
that.
wife passed away, we talked about this. If I passed before her, I said, I want you to go out and live every single thing that you dreamed about. I want you to get on with your life and go for it. And don't even hold back 1 second.
Well, I want to say,